speak about Ubuntu, and we speak about it takes a village to raise a child, and we believe that our communities are that village and these students are our children, and how do we collectively take care of them?
A warm welcome, everyone, to the third episode of the Parallels podcast brought to you by Africa Scotland Business Network. This episode is going to be an absolute cracker. We've got the CEO of ASBN member organisation Phoenix.org, Cara-Jean Petersen. Cara, how you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Claire. Awesome to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Cara has been part of Phoenix for many years, so we've walked this journey, ASBN and Phoenix, for the past 4 years now. They were one of the first organisations to join ASBN. Cara, when we met you, you weren't the CEO. So do you want to back up and tell the audience, how did you become involved with Phoenix?
My goodness. Where do I start with the story?
At the beginning.
So I think I'll go back a little bit just before where I was, before the organization. So I was really raised in the nonprofit space. I did my honors in psychology, and I knew at first I thought I was either going to be a dinosaur or I was going to be a psychologist. Turns out being a psychologist was actually able to pay the bills. And so, that was the course I was in. But during my internship, I realized impacting one life just wasn't enough for me, or one life at a time. I really wanted to expand into youth development programs. And so one of my mentors, who was based at the HIV and AIDS program at the University of the Western Cape, he created a position for me and he groomed me in youth development programs. I did work all across the Western Cape in really high risk areas like Mitchell's Plain, Kailicha, Philippi, all the way through Paul, and that really inspired me to then do greater work, citywide works with government. And I was with government for a stint, but there was just something in me that desired more. And it was during that time that I'd gone to a Black Coffee concert and was partying it up, and a friend of mine saw me and he was like, Cara, he was very intoxicated, but he's like, Cara, do you know about Phoenix? They're looking for a student manager, you need to apply. And I thought, this is so bizarre that it must be something worth pursuing. And I'd heard about Phoenix in the ether, and there's this amazing startup that's looking at helping students fundraise and using crowdfunding. And I was on campus at the University of the Western Cape during Fees Must Fall and the student protests. I saw it firsthand. And knowing that there's a startup that really was inspired and motivated to being a part of the solution, I said, maybe that's my next step. And so I decided to leave the security of government and really pursue my purpose and my core. And that's how I started to commit to Phoenix. And yeah, a lot more took place after that, but that's how we entered.
And Cara, you're still only 33 years old. You're a CEO at 33. And I'm going to dive right in there. You were born in the apartheid era, and now you're a CEO in the democratic South Africa. What an incredible journey. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I was actually reflecting about it the other day in terms of the layers that it's added, in terms of the perspective that I have and a little bit of the burden that you carry coming from that straddled time. So I was born in 1990. We know we only really became a democratic society in 1994. So my mom, having an upbringing when she was deep in the apartheid era, she had quite an interesting upbringing where my mom was really fair, and so they thought she was white. And my uncle, her brother, he was a lot darker, and so he was immediately deemed colored. But that meant they couldn't go anywhere together as a family. They couldn't go to restaurants. They couldn't go to public spaces. And so there was a divide in the family until my grandma said, no more. We're all going to identify as colored, and we're going to be a family. And my grandpa, during that time, women being educated wasn't really that important. It was about rather get into a bank, have that security and make an income, because eventually you're going to get married and your husband will take care of you. Whereas my grandpa really believed in the power of education. And so he was the one that, despite the financial sacrifices my family made, they made sure that my my mom got into the University of Cape Town, which at that time was a white university. So my mom had to take like Greek mythology or something
Wow.
in order to be allowed in. Like you had to be able to take a module that no other institution offered in order to be allowed in. And she was physically sick for the first year of her studies because she had never been around white people before. She felt she didn't have a voice. She felt like she didn't belong. And because of that experience, my mom said she will not do that to her children. She was very intentional that despite the financial sacrifices she needed to make for us, that we were going to go to schools that were diverse. We were going to go to schools where there were people of all races from different backgrounds so that we could understand that level of diversity and exposure. And so I went to a predominantly white school, both high school and primary school, and that was quite difficult. You always have a sense that you're other or that you're lesser, and so that filter, I think, bred a lot of insecurity in me in my younger years. And it was only through me then having the opportunity to study during my tertiary studies at the University of the Western Cape, which was pivotal in the apartheid protests and era, that my mind really expanded, and to understand that what's different about me is also my superpower, and that I get to be a part of that narrative for others that might be dealing with the same type of cultural stereotypes or barriers, and that actually it's what we make of it as opposed to just accepting the narrative of others that want us to feel lesser.
Powerful words right there, Cara. And now you are leading a game-changing educational organisation. Cara, what do you think it is about you as a person, your leadership style? What do you think it is about Cara and how you lead the organisation that makes your job so special, your team so special, and your brand so exceptional?
For me, it's that the why needs to be authentic. It's not you're joining something because it looks good. You're not speaking something because it's written in a script. But we really believe in living out the cause. And I'm a typical missing middle student. And for those who are international, what that means within the South African context is a missing middle student is considered a student that comes from a family household that isn't privileged enough to afford tertiary education, but isn't considered underprivileged enough that they can get government aid. And so I came from a household where my mom was in a financially abusive relationship. So we often didn't know what type of finances we were dealing with on a month-to-month basis. She had 4 children she needed to look after. And because of that, I really needed to rely on my community in order to tap into the resources needed to excel. So had it not been for the grit that my mom displayed and showed me that no matter your circumstances, there's a way to rise above it, and that education is important no matter what, and the fact that I came from a community that was willing to invest in me, that became a deep-rooted why in me to say, I will be a part of a generation that pays it forward. I will make sure that I invest in young people the same way others invested in me when I was a young person. I mean, I'm 33, I'm still young, but you know what I mean?
Take it.
And so for me, the why, and everyone in the Phoenix organization, that's one of the things we screen for. We ask them, why Phoenix? Why this organization? You can add value anywhere, but why here? And for us, if we know the why is true and authentic to our culture, to our values, to our cause, you push so much harder because you believe in what you're pushing for, and it almost becomes a bit personal because you're so passionate about it. And I think that's what makes leading an organization of young, diverse, innovative, passionate individuals such an amazing privilege for me and such an exciting opportunity. And in terms of my leadership style, I take on generational leadership, is how I would phrase it, is that it's not about me. It's never about me. It's about how can I impart knowledge in the next generation so that they will take over from me. I think that's really important, is that you impart knowledge so that you can actually move out of the way.
Cara, see when Phoenix joined ASBN, there was a different CEO. And then you were almost thrust into this position. We had always seen you as a more silent superpower, more silent superhuman that was like running programs. So we weren't surprised when you were given the immense duty of CEO. Do you think that Cara has changed the direction or the trajectory of Phoenix? And again, relating it back to your leadership style, have you, feel free to talk about the different paths that you might be taking Phoenix on?
So I think one of the things that was quite extraordinary about my journey with Phoenix, which I think influences how I lead and where I see the team going, is that when I went from government to my time at Phoenix, I leapfrogged. I went from more of a junior coordination position to a manager. And I had to very quickly learn how to do that. I'd never done a budget before. And the CEO, Liana, who was the CEO before me, she sat with me for 8 hours straight teaching me how to do a budget. Line by line, we sat on Excel and we put together my first departmental budget. And that instilled something new in me in terms of it doesn't matter who you are or what level. You offer help if you've got the skill. If you can see that there's someone that's hungry to learn, you find a way to upskill them, and you raise and you mentor and you guide the next generation of professionals. And so going into kind of my time as the leader of the organization, I was mentored into it. It was another leapfrog situation where I went from being a manager of a department to now the leader of an entire organization. But behind the scenes, that was a journey over 5.5 years that Leon and I had embarked on. And so where the organization is going now is we continue to commit to bringing in young professionals and nurturing and grooming them. And that's something that's really important. And for me, it's not so much about change as it is about understanding what do we want to preserve, what do we want to be protective over around our values and our origin story and our why. We don't want to lose sight of that, because sometimes organizations, they grow too quickly and they lose sight of who they are and why they started. And because I was part of the origin, I understand it quite deeply and I'm very protective over it. But then again, it's not about change, it's about enhancement. So what have we been doing excellently that we believe we can enhance? Where is there cleanup to be done? And there's obviously things that should be improved on, that we are improving on, but ultimately it's about letting our why lead the vision and making sure that at the end of the day, all of our efforts as a team, as we collaborate, is to accomplish the fact that we want to educate and equip young people to thrive, to positively contribute towards a healthier, functioning South Africa, because that impacts everyone else's life. It makes everyone's life better. And what is it going to take? It takes a level of grit, it takes a level of passion, it takes a deep-rooted why. And it's just for me to help the team constantly remain focused on that North Star. And yeah, I think it starts with you. You need to remember your why, and then it kind of filters to the rest of the team.
It's like a ripple effect, isn't it? And I'm a big believer. Humans we're mostly water, so we're energy conductors. We are constantly like exchanging energies. I mentioned this in our first podcast with my business partner, Nicola. So it's really important, especially in a position of leadership where you do have a positive stance, where you do constantly feel that why. And I might be asking you a little bit of a tricky question, because I know that you work with hundreds, if not thousands, of aspiring students and graduates at Phoenix. Can you single out a success story that kind of sums up what Phoenix does as an organisation? And I know we're not, myself and Cara and our organisations, we're not in the business of like having favourites. We're not really allowed to have favourites, but the descriptor of this podcast is like beyond the business line, so we can get a little bit edgy here. Can you share maybe a story that sticks out for you about a student?
Gosh, it's actually one of the easiest questions.
Okay.
Because we get so much student feedback. Like we get hundreds of student thank you notes and videos throughout the year of how their lives have been impacted. And I think this year I have favorites every year. Admittedly, there are definitely favorite students that I have each year, and this year I have two favorites. So one of them is a story of a student ambassador that was trained up this year. He's doing his LLB. He's based in Joburg, and he was working at the law clinic, and there was a young person, female, that came to him, and she was struggling with drug abuse. He was helping her with a court case, and out of a place of concern, he's like, can I just ask, like, how did you get yourself into the situation? And she said, actually, I studied, I completed my degree, but because of my historical debt, I couldn't get my degree and I haven't been able to get a job. And because of that, she fell into a depression. And one of her coping mechanisms was unfortunately substance abuse. And then he, from a place of concern, he said, can I tell you about Phoenix? And he told her about the power of crowdfunding. He told her that, actually you can fundraise for this debt. It can help you unlock these opportunities. And then he lost touch with her. She came back a little bit later and she said, I need to tell you. I registered on Phoenix. I successfully fundraised for my studies. I'm debt free and I'm booking myself into a rehab clinic. She booked herself into rehab. By the time she came out, her family had collected a degree and she's now employed.
Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, what?
A diva.
Like, that is absolutely amazing. And it really speaks to the real circumstances. People tend to shy away from that shadow side of society, but this is the reality. Students are under an immense amount of stress. We face different financial challenges, and sometimes the coping mechanisms are not the healthiest. I mean, from our insights report alone, we know that over 45% of our students right now are struggling with their mental health and don't have access to the resources needed. So for us, that really stood out. And then the second story is actually we watched his student hero video this morning as a team as we closed off our year. And his name's Itumeleng. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's one of our original students that was able to successfully fundraise on Phoenix. And what happened was that because he was fundraising, his friends were fundraising for him. They were helping pay for his food. They were helping pay for his learning materials amongst his community. They were donating towards his studies. And then through Phoenix and those additional fundraising efforts, he then was able to graduate debt-free. He became a lawyer because he also studied law. Our law students really stood out this year, but he's paying it forward now. Since 2019, every single month he makes a donation to a student. Wow. And his reason is that because of how his community invested in him, he has committed to investing in others. And whatever media opportunities we have, we call upon him and he does all of it. He's so excited to share his story and champion. And again, I think it's about that culture of it takes... So we speak about Ubuntu and we speak about it takes a village to raise a child. And we believe that our communities are that village and these students are our children. And how do we collectively take care of them? And those stories really encapsulated that for us.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Cara. And to our audience who's viewing today, please check out www.phoenix.org. Don't worry, I'll be your salesperson. Business development manager, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Check out the website and all the incredible students and success stories of Phoenix. And certainly if you want to get involved with Phoenix, Cara's just mentioned a huge issue right now in our society, and that's mental health. And yes, it does affect young people, and if you can help, there's the lady to talk to. So Cara, I'm going to round this off with a question on South Africa.
Okay.
Now, you obviously grew up here. You grew up in Cape Town. But you have experienced life overseas. You were telling me a couple of nights ago that you were in Germany. So you've experienced the outside world. What is it about South Africa that makes you so passionate? What is it about this country that makes you want to stay here and make a difference?
How interesting. So yesterday I was actually reading an article that Cape Town is now ranked the #1 highest in terms of quality of life in Africa. Cape Town is ranked #1.
Wow, okay.
So I think #1, super privileged to be in Cape Town. That's really set apart in terms of quality of life, in terms of the beauty, in terms of the people. For me, it's not so much, yes, I've been to Germany and I've been to Switzerland and I've had amazing opportunities to travel overseas and to different provinces. But I think why I've committed myself to South Africa and why I've committed myself to Cape Town is because of community. There are communities that have invested in me. My university invested in me. Different individuals invested in me. And my responsibility is to invest back. But they say charity starts at home.
Right.
And I think that's really what's drawn me. And I've been overseas. I've spoken to friends. I've traveled to beautiful places beyond where I've gone so far, and nothing pulls me. I firmly believe in going where you're led, and I've never been led elsewhere. I've only ever been led to stay right here, and I believe that everyone's called to do different things and be led to have impact in different spaces. But South Africa's home for me. And I'm excited about what I can do. Maybe that changes in 20 years, who knows? But for now, I'm quite happy to be able to contribute here in this space.
Amazing, Cara. And just a little cheeky question at the end.
I was waiting for it.
How do you tell us about your experience in ASBN? And be honest. Be honest.
Just the worst.
On the spot.
I think it's so amazing because the first encounter I had with you particularly was through Firecracker when we were starting that event. And I mean, you really live your brand. I mean, you really are this like, red-headed, tiny, like full of energy person. And look, I'm a very relational person. Even with our donors and our partners and our students, we connect based on, are we values aligned? Can we build a relationship here? Is there connection? And I think with Africa Scotland Business Network, you guys really have the same type of belief and ethos. I love what you said in one of your networking events for your 4th birthday when we were up in Josie together. And you said, if I can't sit down and have a gin with you, then you're not in the right network.
Right.
Right. And I love that because I'm like, that's what it's about. Like, if I can't sit and have a gin with you and have some banter and have a laugh and then talk about what we're passionate about, like, why are we here? Wow. So for Africa Scotland Business Network, I think you guys do it so effortlessly because it's authentic to you. You understand why you're here. You understand who you want to partner with. You understand what you want to accomplish. And you guys are so ready to help. Like, how many times have I been like, Claire, I need your help with this. Can we brainstorm? And you're just constantly connecting in personal and professional, right? Like, we gym buddies, guys, now, we've sawn it together. It's a new bond.
We can't even drink gin together now because we are actually both on a health kick.
It's Christmas time. We'll have a sugar-free gin. But yeah, I think really it's the relational aspect and your guys' heart and willingness to connect and seek support and connect the dots. It's something that I've really enjoyed, and as Phoenix, we've gotten such tremendous value from it. One of our team members that was at one of your networking events in Josie, she actually said that it allowed her to achieve a personal goal because she was so terrified of networking. It was something that was so difficult for her, but being at that networking event, celebrating the 4th birthday with you guys, everyone was so friendly, so open to conversation, so ready to connect, and it really boosted her confidence that she can't wait for the next one.
Oh, that's cool.
So you guys are really impacting people beyond just the business aspect of it, and yeah, thanks. I love being a part of you guys.
Oh, thanks, Cara. So you've just done our elevator pitch. Yeah. I did a little sales pitch for you. We should totally job swap one day.
We can make a little show. We'll do another podcast about it, a little reflection.
I know, you never know, it might turn into like a TV show.
Yeah. Clint, are you making notes? We have a new creative idea for you.
I know. The diversification of Africa Scotland Business Network into job swap.
Like wife swap. Let's do job swap. Let's see how that goes down.
Cara, thank you so much for joining us today in this podcast. Cara is the leader of Phoenix.org. She's one of 105 business leaders in the international community of ASBN. Cara, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Check out their website and stay connected.